2020 Career Boost initiative by the Instripe Pathways Youth Foundation continues. The lecture on cybersecurity by Mr. Daniel, while we had two expert speakers share insights on the respective topics on SDGs. Sessions were anchored by our moderator, Akin Success.
Hello everyone and welcome to day 20 of the Career Boost Initiative for African Youth 1.0.
Now let's dive into the lectures.
Hello and welcome back to the last session of the Introduction to Cybersecurity provided by Instride Youth Pathways Foundation. Appreciate them for giving me this opportunity. We have come to the last, hopefully not to the last, but to the 10th and last one under the curriculum here. A very light version of an Introduction to Cybersecurity. Now, as you can see here, today's topic is Introduction to Cybersecurity Careers. We're just going to be talking about the careers. So my name is Daniel Inwa. I go with Peregrine or Bike Peregrine Jitcard PGG. Now, before we go into today's topic, the last topic, which is session 9, we covered a lot of things. Now I have to reiterate some things. There are some golden rules for online safety. I'm just going to outline them before we get into this class today. Hopefully we are not going to forget these rules. One, I have a somewhat try online safety guideline here. If it looks good, too good to be true, it probably is too good to be true. So if an offer or something looks too good to be true, then it is too good to be true. And always never share personal information or financial information via email, text, or social media. It's better you share it through an encrypted format, encrypted channel. Know that this is your personal information. Know that this is your financial information. Know that this is part of your identity. All right, next up, always double check URLs and the sender email addresses before interacting with a message or website. There are a lot of tools that can scan, as I've shown you before. There are a lot of tools that can scan URLs that can at least help you to determine whether this one is a very, very hidden site, or is suspicious, or is clear. And even that clear, as I've told you before, it might not be as clear as you think, because there was a time, there was a time recently I scanned the website, just scanning without any legal issues. I took a website, did some checks, not through my Kali Linux, but just using graphical user interfaces. I scanned the site. It said it was clean, right? But then, because I had UBO, which is a uBlock origin, right? I'm very anytime I check into a website, what I do is just to check UBO origin and then do my best to see if there are any issues, or there are any third-party sites connected or attached to the first-party site, which is the site I checked into. So what I noticed was that I'm not going to mention the name of the site, so because it's quite sensitive. What I did was just to check. These ones are familiar sites. Maybe Google Ads, that's one. Plus maybe it was just checking is a site that I've come to see. Yes, this is there. The first thing I noticed was that in my own firewall system on my antivirus, it was showing me that something was blocked anytime I enter that site. Then I say, all right, why is it not blocking the whole site? Which means that the site might be clean, but then there's something that is not very critical. When I mean not very critical, cannot be used to hack the site but can be used for the site. It was actually a botnet that was on that website. So what I did was actually just start scanning all the third-party sites. Since the first party site dash dash dot com dash dash dot org dash dash dot app was already safe, was already on the safe side, what I did personally was just to start looking for the second slash third party sites, fourth, fifth party sites that were connected or attached, maybe through some extensions that were introduced by the website admin, right? So I noticed that one was really annoying, and it was giving me some kind of weird look. Okay, I actually sent it to use URL void and also use virus and other. I even did my best to scan it, since I knew, okay, yes, it was somewhat of a botnet, right? So I noticed it was a botnet. I could not attack it, so I had to report it to the site. So the site, I'll name it here, is smolcatgi.shop. You can, well, if you have a safe space, or you have a sandbox site, or sorry, a sandboxed computer, please, you can go to that site and just try to check and play around with it. But in a way, small catgi shop was a gateway for someone to use that site, that website that I was checking in onto, to create an attack, probably somewhere else. So that botnet was really well annoying, because I always, almost every day, I always go to the site because I have to post in some things in some of the organizations I'm working with, and I'm together with. So I had to, it was quite annoying. Yes, I knew that my defenses, my firewalls were blocking it, but I had to even reach out. Yeah, I reached out to the should I say, some public site, not a site but a chat group that are connected to the admin of the website. So I just had to inform them this and this and this was the problem. I noticed this was giving me an indication of a botnet. It's not yeah, it's giving me connection of a botnet. And I think after some days they did their own tests, internal investigations and tests, and then they really worked on it. Or I think, yeah, they worked on it, they are still working on it, but still, that's not the main issue. But that's the power of using open source intelligence tools, or open source tools that are really free to use in their basic format. All right, now there's a reason I'm giving this story, because it's part of careers. It's part of the careers that we are going to delve into. All right, now what we're going to talk about today is just the various career paths in cybersecurity, the skills and qualification needed for each one, and the most important thing: practice, connect, practice, show your skills, connect. Practice, connect, practice, show your skills, practice, connect. These are the fundamentals in in building your career in cybersecurity, because in fact, there are some people that are not even in cybersecurity, but they'll just learn a part of cybersecurity because they need it to upgrade their jobs. Now I'm talking about the people in government, the people in the defense industry base, or defense industrial base. What they do is just pick a skill in cybersecurity and then use it to promote themselves. and it will actually boost their I won't talk about much about the military or paramilitary in Nigeria here, but then there are many people, few people, some people that do this. Maybe they are from they are either from any of the intelligence agencies slash organizations in Nigeria or any other part of the world. The military themselves, they are not per se in the National Cyber Command, the national either Army Cyber Command or the National Cyber Command, Cybercom, of which is the main job of cybersecurity personnel in the military or the defense industrial base. What they do, instead of just getting the whole skill, the whole package, is just to get maybe a networking skill or so, maybe an information gathering skill or so related to cybersecurity. So they attach that, but then their main jobs of cybersecurity and their, shall I say, sub jobs of cybersecurity. So what you are going to learn is the qualifications needed for each of these roles, and then how you can get the skills, whether yes, how you can get the skills and organizations that you can attach yourself to upskill yourself and also to get job in the long run. All right, the goal of today is to inspire you and guide you folks on how you can pursue your career in cybersecurity, and I'll provide you with practical advice and resources for further exploration. And then, as said before, this will be the final section, which will include a mix of a presentation, discussion, interactive elements to engage all of you, and then we'll provide you with actionable steps if you want to follow the cybersecurity career pathway. Do note, what I'm going to give you will not be full-blown career pathway. First things first, there have been an uptick of students who learn from verified sources, and then they go back to their homes and they start using it for the dark side or various criminal activities. We have seen that in the 3MTT programs provided by the NITDA and Nigerian government. Some of their students are now criminals and they are engaging in criminal activities, which is not something to be said about. All right, let's jump into it. Today we are going to, as I've said before, we're going to look at just the overview of the cybersecurity careers, the skills, qualifications for cybersecurity careers, the pathways and resources, how to build a cybersecurity portfolio, networking and professional development, and my final thoughts and conclusions, and where to learn more and more. All right, so now we have already said what cybersecurity is, but just to reiterate, cybersecurity is the protection of digital devices, protection of computer systems, networks, electronic, anything that has to do with a CPU, that can hold a CPU, a computer system, network, data from any kind of threat, no matter whether it's cyber threat or physical threat. Any kind of threat, that is cybersecurity. Threats can be many, as you can see on your screen. All right, there are some people that will tell you there are 12 cybersecurity profiles, there are 6 cybersecurity profiles. Some will even tell you there are 50 cybersecurity profiles. They are not wrong, they aren't wrong, they are all right. This is from Cisco Networking Academy, which is netcard, yeah, the netcard, which is Cisco Academy. For you can see networking here, but it's mainly not just networking but actually cybersecurity. But all of the Cisco Academy, the online base for Cisco education. Now, which one do you want to identify? We have CISO, which is Chief Chief Information Security Officer. Okay, now there's difference between CISO and CSO. CSO is Chief Security Officer, which is just not which is the head of security for an organization. For a school, a CSO, Chief Security Officer, over over the person has to deal with the physical, the mental, any part of the security. He's responsible for, as it says here, chief security officer. But now here we are talking about Chief Information Security Officer. So this is just the head of information security. Head of information security. Now we also have a cybersecurity educator, which teaches you either formal physical, or through online methods, or using both methods or even other methods to teach you about cybersecurity. Basically, cybersecurity incident responders, these are people who come and deal with the aftermath of a cybersecurity attack or a cybersecurity breach. A cybersecurity implementer is one who knows the information about the architecture of the cybersecurity product, and then he or she or them implement that. They implement the cybersecurity policies, they implement the cybersecurity software and applications. We have cyber legal policy and compliance officers. Now you can separate this into cyber legal officers, cyber policy officers, cyber compliance officers. These are people who are in HR, human resource, or human, in all that they deal, or they just make sure that the organization is up to par with the government and the supply chain. When I mean supply chain, those who work with you, the first, second party, third party, fourth party, those who work with you in major organizations, whether these people or these organizations are also following the right policies, or even you as an organization, you are following the right policy. Now, cybersecurity researcher is a person just like a bug bounty hunters are also part of cybersecurity researchers, if they are cybersecurity personnel. These people just do their research, they do reverse engineering, they go into, it's a lot really, they go into investigating, they go into testing, the research. That's what they do, the work of a researcher, but in the cybersecurity sense. Now, cyber threat intelligence specialists, these are the people who are the most forward on information, the most current on information in the cybersecurity space, in the intelligence space. When I'm intelligence space, now this can mean in the intelligence and security landscape, which means shall I say, yeah, intelligence bureaus, agencies, or the intelligence department in an organization. They are the people who spot threats. They are people who get the threats from information brokers, or from researchers, or from investigators, or from penetration testers. All right, cybersecurity risk manager is a person who overlooks any kind of the person will be the one to look at the risks involved, on whatever you use, whatever step you take, what it risks as a person. The manager, the cybersecurity risk manager will be the person who will really look at the risks of everything. When I mean everything, even if it's your clothes or so. That's when it comes to the extreme. Yes. Now, cybersecurity architect is a person who builds, persons who build cybersecurity applications. You see this Kali Linux that we use during this course. Yes, cybersecurity architect are one of, so these people are part of programmers, designers, coders that do their job to make sure that the cyberspace in the whole world, in the whole organization, in the whole country are actually up to par to the coding languages, and they use their own coding expertise to create updates, to create patches, to create applications for security, right? Now okay, let me finish for the other three. Digital forensic investigator is basically forensics, but cyber forensics, right? Auditor is a person who checks the list, is a person who audits everything, whether this is up to par or not. Penetration tester, yes, a penetration tester is a person who spends most of his time testing the products that are created by anyone or the architects to see whether they are flaws or not. Now let me say this: just because you are a CISO doesn't mean that it cannot be any of these. And yes, in a way, really, today's cybersecurity world, as it is very broad and exciting, in truth, I really haven't seen someone who is not more than, let's see, there are 12 here, more than 6. Yes, I've not seen anyone who is less than 6, who doesn't do the job or who doesn't have these skills of more than 6 of these job opportunities, right? Because yeah, the skills are interwoven, though you just have to pick what you specialize in. Okay, next up is just to reiterate what I just explained. Security analyst monitor network traffic for unusual activities. They investigate security incidents and respond to potential threats. Analysts use tools to detect and mitigate attacks. Alright, yeah, the skills needed for a security analysis: knowledge of network protocols. Yes, you need the network protocols knowledge. Yes, you do need it. There's a book that, okay, yeah, I'll recommend that in the comment section. I'll not say it here. There are some books that you need to read and study for you to get the basic fundamental knowledge of networking protocols. Now, experience with security tools, the firewalls, intrusion detection systems, and problem solving skill. Problem solving skill is a soft skill, and yes, you need it. Critical thinking skill, you need that too. So these firewalls, intrusion, IDS, you have them out in the world, open sourced and even closed source or semi-closed source. You do have them all around the internet, where you can buy or where you can download and start using them if you have the right hardware. Now, security engineer is a person who, a security engineer, yes, or an architect, designs and implements security systems to protect the organization's data and network. These people focus on building robust security infrastructures and addressing vulnerabilities. Yeah, and the skills needed is experience with network design, security architecture, and familiarity with encryption technologies, terminologies, and tools. All right, a pen tester, or maybe you have heard of this word, pen tester. Pen tester or pen test is penetration tester, penetration testing. These are also known as ethical hackers. These professionals test systems for vulnerabilities. They are the ones that do either the blue, red, purple, name whatever color you want to name. They just do the theme uh, the team attacking, defense. They just test everything for weaknesses before hackers can exploit them. There are hackers that hack to test for vulnerabilities, and yes, people actually pay for you. Okay, they will tell you, okay, yeah, my organization you need to, okay, they have to. I'm just giving a novel a novel example here. It must not be in the same format or so. They will tell you to either secretly hack them. Of course, you have, as a cybersecurity professional, you have to get permission, and legal permission, in writing, and if possible record it, so that you know your boundaries. Is it a full-on attack or a partial attack? If it's a full-on attack, let's just say you're trying to attack an organization like the federal government. Yes, there are penetration testers that attack the government because they are hired to do so by the government. It's not everybody that know, okay, they are going to, someone is going to penetrate test you, pen test you. No. Only a certain few people in that organization know, okay, someone is, or a group of people, or a large number of people are testing our systems, our protocols, our policies, even ourselves as human beings. So they just do their best to identify weaknesses in the system, either this physical system, the ideological system, the policies, or the applications and database of an organization. Now, the skills needed is proficiency in hacking techniques, the knowledge of security protocols, familiarity with pen testing tools such as Metasploit, Nmap, and a lot of others. Okay, next up we have incident responder. An incident responder manages and investigates security breaches, and they coordinate responses and ensure recovery from incidents. These people work to minimize damage and restore normal operations. Okay, the skills needed for these are analytical skills, experience with incident management, and ability to work under pressure. Next up, we have cybersecurity consultant, which provide expert advice on improving security posture, assessing risks, and implementing security measures. The skills needed here are broad knowledge of cybersecurity trends, strong communication skills, a soft skill, and expertise in risk management. This is basically just like the skill here in expertise in risk management is risk assessment, just like the people in HR who do risk management, or the people in internal assessment who do their own best for risk assessment for a company, a firm, an organization. All right, next here that I will present is a forensic analyst. These people, they specialize in analyzing digital evidences after a cyber incident, and they recover the data, analyze the attack method, provide evidence for legal proceedings, or when it comes to some cases, they recover the data, they analyze the attack methods. Now, after they recover the data, they use the data for a counter attack. This is, I'm now talking about in large, either small or larger cases, where, okay, let's just say a country is attacking a country is attacking an organization is attacking a country, or so they analyze the attack methods, use it, and then use a counter attack procedures, procedures, and then use it, add it with their own expertise, and then attack the enemy. Now, they also provide evidence for legal proceedings. They can do this in multi-dimensional way. Now the skills needed for this are knowledge of forensic tools, the data recovery techniques, and legal understanding of evidence handling. So I think, yeah, okay, I think I've showed this picture before. I've showed this picture before, which is a cybersecurity domain is cut. So do your best to get the uncut picture. This was provided by Station X, the cybersecurity company. It was provided through multiple platforms. Now we can see a lot of it. Threat intelligence is cut a bit, education is cut a bit, governance is cut a bit, risk assessment is cut a bit, but we have physical security, standard framework, security architecture, career development, security operations. Now you can look at all these and look at the careers that I've set, or the careers that I've mentioned to you, and you know, yes, there are lots of careers associated with cybersecurity. There are a lot of careers, and in each of these you can do one job or all the job. So for a CISO to be effective in their own jobs, right, they need to understand almost everything here. So it's a large job. It's really a large job to do. You actually need the skills, technical skills, programming, well, technical skills, certifications, soft skills, and more, which one I'm going to do mention later on or soon. Okay. Now, what is the career path in cybersecurity? When should you go into cybersecurity? Start now. Seriously, start now, because this is the best time. Now is the best time for you to start cybersecurity. Note that cybersecurity is going nowhere, because the more people use electronic devices, sophisticated devices, the more there will be risk of cybercrime. The more there will be cybercrime, which means the more there will be need for cybersecurity professionals. What aspects of cybersecurity do you find most interesting, and why? There are some people that do not find bug bounty hunting interesting. There are some people that do not find reverse engineering interesting. There are some people that do not find any of these technical things in cybersecurity interesting. So where do they go to? They go to some part of cyber legal yes, the cyber and legal part, compliance part of cybersecurity. Please answer this question on your own. This will help you to relate the career parts to your personal interest and goals. It will help you to tailor it to your goals. All right. I'll say this now. This session will also have a live chat with me, the educator, here on YouTube. So do your best to stick around till the last part. Okay. Now, in the skills and qualifications section for cybersecurity careers, we have technical skills, which involves networking knowledge, where you have to understand the network protocols. We have to understand the network protocols, the network design, the security configurations. Now we also have programming and scripting. You have to understand basic knowledge of programming languages, and scripting is very useful for automation and developing security tools, especially when artificial intelligence, virtual intelligence, and artificial intelligence is here. Security tools and technologies are also part of technical skills. You have to be familiar, very very familiar with security softwares and hardware and how they work, what are their shortcomings and what are their pros. Now, what are the certifications you need or you should work towards? The CEH certification, Certified Ethical Hacker certification, hacker certification. We also have CompTIA Security Plus. We also have CISSP, which is a Certified Information System Security Professional. We also have Certified Information Security Manager. These are some certifications in your soft skills: analytical skills, problem solving skills, communication skills, and attention to detail skill. You need to have all this. Now you need to mix these skills for a very good cybersecurity career. You might or will not be a big name in the long run, but you will be a foundational part of cybersecurity in your own niche. Alright, next up we have the educational requirements, educational pathways and requirements. First, high school. Focus on in high school. If you're in high school, senior secondary school, high school, focus on subjects like computer science, mathematics, and information technology. Note, I said focus. I did not say forget others. Others will give you soft skills that will actually help you to be more on ground, be more foundational on cybersecurity. There are some skills, there are some subjects that will actually help you. I'll also mention that later on in the live chat. Now, higher education. These pursue, okay, if you're in higher education, which is your undergraduate, or after your undergraduate, what you need to do is pursue degrees in computer science, information technology, or cybersecurity. Some roles may require specialized cybersecurity degrees or courses, so just do your best to get diplomas online or physical, then do your best to go for it. Now, online courses and platforms, there are some that are not listed here. We have Coursera, we have edX, we have Cybrary, we also have tryhackme.com, Hack the Box. Apart from that, we have my favorites, which is okay, yeah, we have a lot. I'm going to mention them here just in a moment, but let's look at Coursera, edX, and Cybrary. Alright, apart from these that I've mentioned, we also have Let's Defend IO. There are actually a lot, but my favorite is EC Council. EC Council, yeah, EC Council, which they also offer directly. They actually offer some of these certifications that you need as a cybersecurity professional. Right, let's move on to the next section, which is okay, yeah, you are encouraged, of course, here to consider obtaining certifications as you progress in your studies to validate your skills and knowledge. Some of these certifications might not be the hard-earned certifications that you need to pay. They just need some of it, as I've said, as I'll say still, is certifications of completion, certifications of yeah, those certification will just give you a bit of edge, a bit. So creating a personal project here is part of building a cybersecurity portfolio. So what you need to do is to create a personal project, any personal project. Working on personal projects such as setting up a home lab, participating in CTFs, challenges, or contributing to open source security projects will actually help you to get a reputation, a good reputation in the cybersecurity world. Let me just tell you this: while creating a personal project is actually good, because most of the job postings you see online is just done for official purposes, because most of them have already been filled. So around 80, sorry, apologies, let me not exaggerate, around 60 to 70% of the jobs in cybersecurity are not done through job postings, but they are done through picking your skills. So show your skills to people, show your skills to the right people, and you are going to go far in cybersecurity. Document your achievements. It's advised that you maintain a portfolio that includes your project, certification, any relevant coursework or experience. This will be useful for your future job application and interview. Join cybersecurity communities. Join online forums, social media groups, local cybersecurity clubs. Uh, then these communities will offer, and they offer networking opportunities and access to the industry news and also industry specifics. uh, I'll advise you to attend conferences, webinars, workshops to stay updated on latest trends and technologies in cybersecurity. Also seek out mentorship in the field of cybersecurity who can provide guidance, advice, and support as you navigate your career path, as the mentors also navigate their career paths. They'll be able to help you, you'll be able to provide guidance to you. All right. Okay, before I come to my next encouragement and conclusion and final thoughts, i'll well I'll tell you this. Yes, we are still going to do some chatting with you, but I'll advise you to, if you're actually intrigued in cybersecurity, do your best to research more and more, do your best to go out more, do your best to do what you have, what you can do with the resources you have. Then upgrade your resources, upgrade your hardware, software, and start practicing. Practice makes perfect. Practice makes perfect. Truth, that's the truth. Nobody started their cybersecurity journey in a way that they were very fully aware of what they were doing. They were very fully aware and they actually had all the skills. No, most of the people who are giants in cybersecurity these days are people who have practiced. They have really toiled and labored for their own place, in for that their own reputation. Okay, if you have any question about the whole program, then please put your thoughts there, or your if you are interested in cybersecurity, pursuing a career in cybersecurity, please contact Institute Pathway Foundation, which they are going to talk with me. We're going to do some things to get you mentorship, right? If you have any final questions, please put it there. All right. Okay, I'll encourage you to stay curious, keep learning, and explore many exciting opportunities available in the cybersecurity world. Okay, thank you. If you have questions, please put them there. But this will be the end of this presentation. See you in the chat. Possibly see you in the chat, or see you after you contact Institute Foundation for mentorship and opportunities. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Blessing Ochinogo. Just a quick introduction of myself. And first of all, I will say I'm very happy to be doing this with over 100 high institutions here in Nigeria, discussing and talking about SDG and as it relates to manufacturing. Like I said, my name is Blessing Ochonogo. I have expertise in food and quality safety management system. I'm a certified lead auditor for these management systems, and I'm into full-time manufacturing as a quality and food safety professional with almost 10 years experience in the business. So today I'm here to share my expertise on responsible production and consumption. We focus on SDG 12.3. 12.3 talks about we cutting down the per capita loss in food across the food value chain. We believe that a lot of food is being lost from farm to fork. And then how do we become responsible enough to know that this shared natural resource can, go round by ensuring that we monitor, evaluate, and prevent losses along the food value chain. So today we are here to go on a pilgrimage on responsible production and consumption, not just for food, but every part of natural resources that we convert from raw material to finished product. So that's why we are here to take this journey on responsible production and consumption. The United Nations, in her wisdom, knows that the global hunger is on the increase as human population increases. So there needs to be a mitigation plan on how to ensure that these natural resources, which do not just refill or refill themselves, is being monitored, evaluated, and ensure that everybody comes to the point where we are not just producing, we are not just consuming, we are producing healthily, and we are ensuring that these resources are sustainable over time. We don't want to be those set of people who will produce and then the next generation have nothing to leverage on. So this is why we are here to take on this journey on responsible production and consumption. But I'll be a little bit focused on the responsible production and consumption for food because that's the industry I have a bigger expertise on. So let's go on this journey together. Problem statement. According to the United Nations Development Programme on Sustainable Goals, 22% of greenhouse emissions are generated from the food sector. This may be based on agricultural activities and other industrial practices, which is about converting raw materials to finished products. In the process of you converting raw materials to finished products, a lot of gases are being emitted as discharge into the environment. This in itself is a big threat to human existence because as much as these gases are being emitted, lives are being threatened. And then another problem statement to consider here is food loss. 1.3 billion tons of food has been discovered to be wasted yearly. Is that not a big problem in itself? Because the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations also aims at achieving zero hunger. But you cannot achieve zero hunger when you have a lot of post-harvest losses and losses along the food value chain. So what we are trying to say here is, how do we monitor, control, eliminate, or reduce the amount of losses we have during production? How do we reduce the amount of wastages that we generate even during the course of logistics, supply chain, and even at the consumer level. So this is what the United Nations is saying. We must find a way of reducing the per capita loss in food from start to finish, from the farm to the fork. That's what we're trying to solve here. And then 40% of the ocean is affected by pollution. While we are trying to keep up with food production, while we are trying to keep up with manufacturing, we tend to, while we push for industrialization, we tend to cut down trees, we tend to increase our, agricultural activities when it comes to fertilization, when it comes to other big activities we do just to sustain life. While we are doing that, we generate another problem to be solved because water, erosion, rainfall will always push down some of these chemicals we use for our industrial work into the water bodies. And remember that we have life underwater, which we call biodiversity. And this life underwater tends to keep balance in our ecosystem. And it serves as even food for we as humans. So when we continue to threaten this life underwater by excessive pollution, excessive fertilization, increasing the pH of these water bodies, it makes life underwater threatening. And it's even making some of the species that exist underwater to go extinct, So these are concerns to be addressed. Also, we say 80% of wastewater goes into water bodies without adequate treatment. In industrial activities, one of the big waste that is being generated is wastewater. Regardless of what you are producing, water is being used as part of its key ingredients, especially in the food industry. So what we are saying here is, while we are trying to produce, converting raw materials to finished products, as we generate those wastewater, it is expected of industries, organizations to carry out that civic responsibility of treating their water before discharging to the environment. This is not just threatening life underwater. It is also threatening the availability of sanitary water, the availability of clean water, because a whole lot of people survive based on the waters from water bodies like rivers, streams, and all that. So while you're doing your geological exploration, you are doing your oil and gas exploration, it is important that as you discharge your water into the environment, these water need to be treated, they need to be addressed so that we are not just producing and or consuming, we are responsible enough to say that life needs to be sustained all through. So these are some of the concerns, statements of problems that the United Nations Development Program have been able to identify. So now, what is, because when we say responsible production and consumption, you need to understand what is production in itself. You understand? So production is in simple terms, is we trying to convert raw materials to finished products that can be used, consumed, or utilized by the end user. Now, in production, the first thing to consider is the nature of the raw material to be used, because production is more of garbage in, garbage out. What you give into the system is what the system will give to you. So the nature of the raw material to be used is very key. The state of this raw materials, the conditions that they find themselves, the conditions of this raw material will determine the output. So if at that level of trying to purchase, we do not manage our raw materials based on storage conditions, based on recommended temperatures, based on trying to manage that supply chain. If we overstock, these could also lead to a high level of wastage even at the raw material level. So what the United Nations here is saying is that at the raw material level, we need to consider using this lean methodology called CPOC, trying to manage the natural resource, the shared resources we have globally from supplier to customer or consumer. So CPOC means supplier, input, process, output, and customer. What we are trying to do here is to create a food loss or a material loss from supplier down to the customer. So we carry out an assessment. Where in this value chain are we losing food? Are we losing to during our production process? Where are we losing? So at the raw material level, you need to also consider: am I overstocking? Am I not following the right recommended temperatures or storage conditions? If we are following and keeping to these conditions, then we now say, okay, we cannot plug it into the next stage, serving as input for our own process, right? So the input is taking in raw materials that meet a particular condition, that meets a particular requirement, to plug it into your system to, to go through some level of procedures and processing to convert them just from raw material to finished product. So it's now the input, the way we plug in this input through procedures and processes that do matter. How do we manage it at that level? Do we follow the right procedures? Do you have the right competence to meet, these conditions to ensure that output meets the requirements of the customer? Because if you have incompetent people handling these raw materials, you also have wastage. So that production, the responsibility of production is also compromised. So you need to consider the competency of people involved. You need to consider, do you have the right procedures in place? Do they all know what they need to do? How to follow the right processes and procedures to convert these raw materials to the finished product? Do you have the system in place? Do you have the design? Is your facility designed to accommodate the procedures you have laid down? Because if you do not have the facility, How do you adequately manage? Because sometimes the procedures are there, the competence that is there, but the system, do not have the machinery to be able to effectively convert maximally your input to output. So this is something we also need to consider. And then the process is another thing to look into. Your design, your machines, your equipment, are they effective enough? Are they capable enough? After considering your process capability and your equipment, the equipment capability is another thing to consider. Do your equipment meet the requirements not to generate as much wastage or losses as possible? Because we are saying here, we want to convert maximally input to output with minimal losses. We want to develop a lean system where products that are reaching the hands of the customer came with little of wastages along the value chain. So we are saying yes, we want to produce, we want to manufacture, we want to meet the needs of our teeming customers or consumers. But while we are doing that, we also want to be responsible enough to know and to show that the next generation will not also lose, or even the generation we are in tend to have maximum, deliverables when it comes to the outputs, the final products. So while we are producing, we need to also consider is our machines giving us what we need to do. And even if at all, for some reasons, our machines cannot perform optimally, we need to also take it a step further to be responsible enough to say, okay, how do I manage the loss at that point? Am I going to do CSR? Am I going to share it to my staff? What am I going to do to manage the losses such that we do not put them down the drain? Because aside the fact that effort, resources have been pumped into the production of products and services, you also need to look at the resources, the natural and shared resources of the human existence. We're looking at how do we manage it such that we still have enough to serve not just this generation, but the forthcoming generation. So you look at your machines, you look at your process, you look at your equipment. At this level, whatever goes wrong goes into your final product. So your final product is what gets into the hand of your customer. Now you have produced, you have met those set standards, you have met the requirements, you have adequately followed the procedures. But then, do you now have the right storage, right logistics, the right distributors to be able to bear and carry on this your message and gospel of safe products to your end user? Because the way they manage it at that level will also determine if it becomes a waste or a loss at the end of the day. So we look at the output, the final product. Am I handling this product in such a way that when the end users get to receive them, they receive them holistically? This is a very big point to consider. So the output is not just there for their sake. You're not just there to produce, but you're also saying that, okay, I must manage and ensure that this output meets good set standards. They get to the customer or they get to the consumer as holistic as possible. So these are things to also consider while designing your CPOC flow. And then the final customer, the final consumer, because there's a difference between the two. So the customer is the one who buys directly from the organization as a distributor, the exchange, business for business. But the consumers are those who exchange money for the product, who consume the product, especially in the food industry. So when people pay for value for that product, do they have the right understanding of how it should be consumed? Do they buy more than expected? Yes, it's good. They buy much of your products. They purchase as much as possible so that you get rich. But they also need to be intimated on how to handle this product to reduce spoilage. Because sometimes, yes, we have post harvest losses. Yes, we have losses along the production process. But at the consumer level, at the consumption level, we still have heavy losses. We still see people who discard food. We still see people who are not responsible enough to share to their nearest neighbors. We still see people who would prefer to throw their food into the trash rather than share. So you still need to give some level of insight, level of exposure to your customers on how they need to handle your product to reduce wastages, to reduce losses. You need to intimate them. If there are required storage conditions to ensure that these products are okay, you need to give them that knowledge. You need to share that information with them. And then you also need to look at how you tend to inform your consumers on how to consume your product as expected. So, what manufacturing industry professionals do is that they inform their consumers via their labels. So, on the labels, you see keep in a cool, dry environment, keep away from children, use it in this step, that step. So they give you the procedures on how to even consume that product in a best way possible. So this is one way to inform them. You can also inform consumers or customers via jingles, via social media, via marketplace surveys, and then you go to trade and then you inform your consumers on how to best handle your product. Because if they don't handle it well at that point, you're still going to have a lot of losses. What we are trying to preach here is how we reduce, we recycle, or we even reuse material such that we don't have to go back. And so sometimes what is necessary for organizations is that even at the output level, you generate some level of waste that you can still plug back into your system. Okay, your customer generates some kind of wastages, they bring it back to you, and then you handle it in the best way possible. So you also need to look at how do I manage every stage of the process. If at the output level I generate waste, can I still plug it back into my system such that I manage waste? So take for example, you have a a company that is into baking of sausages. At the output level, okay, there are some issues with the product. Can I still plug it back in? Can I create standard operating procedures to help me manage it even at the input level? Can I still plug it back into the system to minimize the waste? At the customer level, can I retrieve from the customer and still use it as an input for my process? So these are things to consider such that we can reduce waste at every point. And those that I know, okay, I cannot manage within my means, can I do CSR? Can I give it to my staff? Can I be generous enough to share with other people and other organizations? So having produced well, having converted raw materials to finished product, we will now look at mitigation, implement a system where we have little or no losses. Yes, in production, there is a way we can produce with minimal losses. And the first thing to do is to, first of all, like I've said, conduct an assessment of your system. How do I reduce losses along my value chain? And then how am I objective about it? How do I set targets? Because what you cannot measure, you cannot control. And what you cannot control, you cannot improve. So how do I measure my losses along the line? What are the objective strategies I need to put in place to be able to measure and also improve that process where, okay, I lost 50% last year. Can I bring it down to 30? Because the entire goal of the United Nations is that per capita losses are reduced by half. So how do I objectively reduce my losses year in, year out by half? This is what we are trying to achieve here. And then we develop a metrics for measuring the carbon footprint of industries. We said already and established already that industries, tend to emit a very high GHG emissions. So we need to establish a metrics for measuring the carbon footprint of industries. Every industry should be responsible enough to measure their carbon footprint such that they can be able to improve. Like I said, you cannot improve what you do not measure. And then we implement environmentally friendly and conservative energy generations. If, for example, your main source of generating power for your plant is diesel, you can start thinking about tilting towards maybe liquefied gas. You can also look at solar. You can look at other alternatives that are more friendly, that have less emissions. These are ways organizations can contribute to responsible production and consumption. And then wastewater from industrial activities should be treated and recollected. As an organization, you need to be responsible enough to know that your waste is not meant to be dumped on others. You need to look at, okay, how do I recollect that waste? Yes, water is abundant. We have over 78% or over 70% of the world covered in water, but it's not for us to waste because the access to potable water is a very, very small fraction. So we're looking at, okay, how do we collect our wastewater, treat them, and then reuse where possible. This will help us to manage our shared natural resource, which is water. We need to manage that cycle. We need to manage that practice. We need to manage, recollect, and treat where necessary, and then where possible, we recycle. If you have materials that are recycled, that's why some of these regulatory bodies are head bent on pressing organizations to go to recyclable materials, materials that are more biodegradable. So, where possible, you reduce. You cut your waste by half, and then you use recyclable materials, materials that are more friendly to the environment, and reuse where necessary. If there is a position or a way you can reuse. So, for example, those that are into bottling, they use what we call returnable glasses, such that you use glass more than once. So, this in itself helps us to manage waste, helps us to manage losses. If we can implement these mitigation plans, we can say that the world is ready for responsible production and consumption. Thank you for having me, and do have a wonderful time. Bye.
Hello, everyone. My name is Destiny, and today I'll be facilitating the session on decent work for all, a catalyst for sustainable economic growth. So without further ado, let's get into it. So, on today's agenda, we'll be looking at the first thing here is the acknowledgement. Next thing, you get to know who I am or who am I. Then the next would be the introduction to the session that we're actually having. Then the next would be a quick check-in. Then we'll move on to why we are even here in the first place. Then that's understanding SDG 8, decent work and economic growth. Then we'll move on to the role of decent work in economic growth, case study in Nigeria we're using here, then recommendations, conclusions, and we'll take question and answer. So first of all, I'd like to acknowledge Mr. Adeyinka of InStride Pathways Youth Foundation. I'm very grateful for this opportunity. I know that this is an initiative that InStride Pathways started this career boost initiative for African youth, just to empower young people. I'm told that the most of the people that are here are mostly high school students and a bit of university students. So, and I know that the courses you'll be taking here would be UI UX design, cybersecurity, animation, and then on the side you get certificates. You also get guest lectures, which is one of these that I'm talking about. That'll be on the SDGs, the 17 SDGs, and then the essays, the debates, the awards, and then talent discovery. So once again, thank you very much for this opportunity. So who am I? So my name is Destiny. Destiny Nwebe. I'm a community and communications expert, and I'm the founder of the Destiny Nwebe Crib. This is a community that makes resources and opportunities available for youths, accessible actually, for youths worldwide with over 3,000 members across social media platforms. So we're doing most of our operations online. So you can find us on Twitter, no, actually, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, WhatsApp, Telegram, and Twitter. We just recently started there, and we're hoping to have more conversations there. So I'm passionate about personal development of youth, and champion two SDGs. So SDG 8, decent work and economic growth, and SDG 4, quality education. So, introduction to today's session. Today we'll focus on learning and understanding the following. Number one, what is SDG? So decent work, what is decent work and economic growth? The role of decent work in economic growth. We use Nigeria as a case study and provide recommendations for, improvements in Nigeria. So just a quick check-in to make the most of this session. And just before we start, please ensure that you're in a quiet place. You sit in a quiet place and that your heart is open and ready to learn. You have a notepad on your phone, maybe, or jotter, a pen, and maybe a snack, a quick snack that you could that's close to you. If we have all those ready, I'm going to believe that you do, right? I'll take that as a yes. Okay. So shall we begin? Are you ready? I'll take that as another yes. Thank you. So introduction, I know that I'm supposed to talk about just SDG 8, but I'm going to talk about what SDGs or Sustainable Development Goals are. So they're a set of global objectives by the UN that was established in 2015 to address pressing issues relating to social, economic, and environmental challenges. And the goal is that all of this is achieved by 2030. So if you look at this here, you can see the different goals, partnerships, peace and justice, life on land, climate action, economic growth, and so on and so forth. So understanding SDG 8, decent work and economic growth. So goal 8 is about promoting inclusive and sustainable economic growth, employment, and decent work for all. Now, globally, labor productivity has increased and the UN and the unemployment rate has decreased. However, more progress is needed to increase employment opportunities, especially for young people, and to reduce informal employment and labor market inequality. And particularly when it comes to the gender pay gap, that's how much women are paid compared to men in certain roles, then to promote safe and secure work environments and improve access to financial services to ensure sustained and inclusive economic growth. All of these are from the UN. I hope that wasn't too long for you. Yeah. So what is decent work? So according to the UN, decent work means that opportunities for everyone to get work that is productive, delivers a fair income, security in the workplace, social protection for families, better prospects for personal development, and social integration. Please note this thing. Decent work means that the work is productive, the work delivers on a fair income, there's security in the workplace. Security, not in sense of insecurity, is how much that the work can actually last. And there's social protection for families. And there's better prospect when it comes to like personal development. And I think that for youth and for young people like you and I, this matters to us. So what is the problem when it comes to decent work? What is the problem when it comes to economic growth? So there's a lack of decent work. There's insufficient investment, rising debt, lack of equitable pay, trade tension, economic uncertainties, and underconsumption in most economies, even in Nigeria. Now, the thing is, in Nigeria, I feel like we actually have work. I remember telling my uncle one time that we work like elephants, but we eat or we get paid like ants, which is the truth if we're being honest. So decent work would not leave you feeling like that. Decent work, you know that, oh, whatever I put into this work that I do, I'm getting value for it. It could be in terms of money, it could be in terms of anything, but you know that at least you're getting value. So what is the role of decent work in economic growth? Oh, sorry, I think my slide. But yeah. Decent work contributes to economic growth by, number one, poverty reduction. So look, if you look on the right side here of this slide, it says that 1 in 4 young people are not in education, they're not in employment or any sort of training. And then it says that global unemployment has actually fallen since the pandemic. And during the pandemic, we found that 4 in 10 adults in low and middle income countries just opened their first bank account. So global economic recovery continues, but it's on a slow trajectory. That's really, really slow. If you see from here, you can see. So how does decent work really contribute to economic growth? So number one is poverty reduction. In terms of, now the UN says that if you live below $2 per day, you're classified as poor. Now, I think in Nigeria, the exchange rate says that $1 to naira is about 1,500 officially or unofficially, or 1,600 thereabout. So that means that I think I might have to stop sharing my video for now because of, I might have to stop sharing my video. But I'll continue. So like I said, so there's poverty reduction. Next would be the improved standard of living. So like I said before, for poverty reduction, if you are living below $2 per day, according to the UN, so that's about 3,000 naira here in Nigeria, you are considered as poor. So I'm not saying anybody's poor, but then you get what I mean. Next would be improved standard of living. Decent work would mean that the basics would be common again. Like bread is so expensive in Nigeria, beans is so expensive. The basics are no longer basics. Like even renting a place to stay is become very expensive. So it will improve standard of living. It would also ensure stable employment, in the sense that people would have stable employment. Like, you know that, oh, my job's secured. I'm going to work in this place for the next 5 years, 3 years, 2 years. And then I could save, I could invest, I could watch how I consume, and then see how maybe I could leave a down payment for maybe a house in the next 3 years, that kind of thing. It also help with investment in the future. Now, economic growth then leads to reduced wage gap. Talked about that between male and female. It also diminishes, I don't think it would diminish inequality, but I know that it would reduce inequality to a very considerable level. And the next would be greater economic security for all. Yes, that would be one of the ways that economic growth would lead to contribute. Then, case study of Nigeria, bringing it home. Yeah, current economic employment landscape is that unemployment rate is currently at 4%. I checked before, and it used to be 33% as 2020, but I think since the pandemic, things have really changed, and the country has gotten better. Then, informal sector, there's like a lot of people are in the informal sector, and what this means is that there's no job security, there's no benefits attached. Then next would be the economic diversification. So there we have every reliance on oil, with little focus on other parts of the economy. Although I think that this generation is doing better when it comes to like focusing on other, let's say tech in Nigeria is beginning to, do better. Then lack of infrastructure and funding. Take for example, things like, okay, now I'm actually speaking here, and then they take the light. That's the kind of thing you would expect in Nigerian setting, like things like telecommunications. You and I remember one time this there was a fuss with the network and how telecom companies here are not doing so. One of my friends posted that, is this the kind of network I want to use to compete with global talent? And it's so true when you think about it. But then, and then funding is also an issue here in Nigeria. There's not a lot of funds. It's funny because then the challenge is that there's number one, there's a skill mismatch. So there's employers complain actually that there's a gap between and it's not students' fault really, because there's a gap between the skills demanded for and the skills that the employees actually have, that people actually have. What the school curriculum is teaching is not in line with what the market is actually saying now. Most of what the school curriculum, I'm talking university, is not in line with. So it's better to get it right even before you enter uni. I remember a friend of mine, a younger friend of mine, is like, hey, I want to study this in university. And I'm like, I don't think you should study that. Why? Because those are not the jobs of the future. When you're thinking of picking a course to study in the university, you don't think of what are the problems that are here now? What are the kind of skills that employers are actually looking for? That kind of thing. Next is infrastructure issues. So poor infrastructure, roads, light, water, telecommunications, network, things like that. Then security concerns. Sometimes it looks like Nigeria is just Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt, Calabar, those places. But then there's like other places. I've heard of Jos, I've heard of Kaduna, I've heard of Kano, and there are other things happening here. But then it looks like everything's just concentrated in one area. Why? Because one day you could just wake up and they say, oh, they've kidnapped XYZ people in Borno or Sokoto or those kind of places. I'm sorry, I'm not mentioning names. I'm just saying those are kind of things we hear in the news. So what are my recommendations? Number one is policy reform. So implement and enforce labor laws to ensure fair wage and safe working conditions. If I know that they say that, I know that I've heard that in other advanced countries, say like the US or Canada or like Japan, you're not supposed to work a certain number of hours. You're supposed to work a certain number of hours. If you exceed that number of hours, you could be sued for it. If that kind of thing was in Nigeria, it would mean that everybody would take their job seriously, both on the employer side and on the employee side. It means that you know that you have, let's say you have 7 hours to work a day or 8 hours to work a day. You know that, oh, I have to maximize this time. No time for distractions, no time to just do whatever I feel like should be done. I have to do this and do it well. And then employers will also know that, oh, I have to keep these faithful people that are working well. I have to also give them good working conditions, not just your salary. There's also things like health insurance, and that could help. Next would be support for SMEs and startups. So support like small and medium enterprises in terms of funding, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of, just to help, because they help create jobs that we actually work in, just to make that sector formal and to move from the informal sector. Then next is infrastructure development. Invest in infrastructure in terms of so they can help with business growth and job creation. And then would have investment in education and training. Now, aligning educational programs with market needs to bridge the skills gap, just like I said before. When I think education, I do not think schooling. I think skills. And I want everyone to start thinking like that. Don't think that I'm just going to school to get a certificate or to get a degree, or I'm just going to get WIEC or IGCSE or something like that. Think, what am I learning from this? How is this going to be used in the world when I'm out of university or when I'm in the world? Like, what kind of things do employers expect me to have? Because if this thing is actually true, they're saying that Nigerian graduates are not employable. Well, that's when you hear people say, oh, there's no jobs. There's actually jobs, but sometimes people don't actually have the right skills for those jobs. So that brings me to the end of the conclusion of our session today. The question remains, will decent work really act as a catalyst for sustainable growth. Based on what you've learned in the last, say, 14 slides, and I think this is almost like 20 minutes or more, what do you think? I'm leaving that question to you. So let me know, maybe in the comments or in any way that you could put your contributions down. Do let me know. And I'll give time for question and answers. If you've got questions, if you've got anything you'd like to know, just let me know. I'll find a way to answer them and be an active contributor to this. And thank you. So that's where we come to the end of today's this session on decent work for all, a catalyst for sustainable growth, sustainable economic growth. So I'd like to know if this was helpful for you. Let me know. And I'd like to thank Instride Pathways Youth Foundation again and Mr. Dinginka for reaching out to me, for giving me this opportunity, and for these 30 days of learning that we are all going to be doing. I think it's wonderful, and it's a very great way to, impact the youth. And yeah, so just before I go, if you've got questions, if you've got anything, just let me know. You can reach out to me if you want to reach out to me. I'm available on LinkedIn, on Instagram as well, but I prefer LinkedIn if you'd like to reach out to me. And thank you very much for this opportunity again, in Stride Pathways. I'm very grateful, and yeah, I hope this was helpful. Thank you.